Welcome to TalkTech with Rob Scott.
Kevin, thank you for joining the show.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having us.
Excellent. So we're here at the Fontainebleau Resort in Miami, and we're at the DattoCon event, and we're lucky to be joined by Kevin, who is the general manager of the PSA product suite for Kaseya. Kevin, how's the show going?
It's been amazing. Miami's our headquarters, not just DattoCon, but we also had Autotask Community Live, which is a pre-day event for Autotask, BMS, and Kaseya Quote Manager. It's amazing to get customers that are excited, giving us feedback, love the direction we're going with the product. So it's been a great event so far. We still have a half a day, so it's not over yet, but it's been great so far.
Crazy party last night for the MSP initiative, and wonderful time. Great to be here with Datto and all the other vendors in the community. And my experience with the product suite from Kaseya is mostly focused on the Kaseya Quote Manager, formerly Datto Commerce. Take a minute and walk us through the history of that product. I know there was an acquisition and it's been evolving, but tell the listeners what's going on with that Kaseya Quote Manager, and take us back to the origin story of this product from when it started to where it is today.
Yeah, sure. So Datto Commerce started off in Australia. It was an acquisition that Datto did about 4 or 5 years back. I joined Datto it's been 3.5 years now. So to run Autotask, and then I took on Datto Commerce. And then after the acquisition by Kaseya, we really wanted to focus the core competency of Datto Commerce. We found the name was too generic. Datto Commerce, people didn't understand what that was. So we rebranded it to Kaseya Quote Manager to really focus it on its core strengths, which is quoting, hardware procurement. And we've done some great things with the product since the acquisition, mainly a much tighter integration to Autotask, the PSA. Hardware procurement is just one side of the picture. You need to have it completely connected to your PSA so that it shows up in contracts, it shows up when renewals are happening. So very excited where Datto Commerce or Kaseya Quote Manager is, and I'm sure we'll get into a bit more of where we're taking it in a few minutes.
Of course, yeah, and thank you for that background. And I'm in the position frequently of advising clients about the differences between different platforms, and particularly as relates to quoting tools. And one of the things that I tell people is it's very important to sell what you manage and manage what you sell. And by having a quoting solution that also integrates with the PSA, I think is the only way to accomplish that. And what always amazed me about the Kaseya Quote Manager is its ability to set up specific platforms for customers to buy hardware so that the MSP doesn't really have to spend a lot of time on that low margin activity. Explain how this Quote Manager platform brings all that data together from suppliers and allows MSPs to automate hardware sales for their MSP practice.
Yeah, you hit on a great point. We see a lot of times MSPs are techies at heart. They like to go in and fix things. Selling doesn't come naturally to a lot of them. And hardware, it's a huge opportunity, hardware procurement and selling. We see only 12% of hardware sales in North America goes through the MSPs because it's very difficult to do. You have so many vendors out there, multiple prices keep fluctuating. And that's why KQM is such a great product. It integrates multiple supplier feeds, multiple vendors, so that when an MSP is going in, they can pick the right product, the right solution based on technical fit, based on profit margins, that they can really customize it for their end users. We highly encourage MSPs to get into hardware procurement because if you don't do that, your consumers are just going to buy off-the-shelf products. They'll go on any of the online websites and buy them. And then what happens is you can't support them properly. You can't make sure that all the security, all the compliance is in place. So by missing out on that, you are actually in some ways doing a disservice, not just to your customers, but to the MSP community as a whole, because you're not giving that holistic view to your customers. And I know it sounds a bit maybe straightforward, but that's why KQM exists, and that's where it's so important that our customers take use of it. And to make easier for them, we've actually included Kaseya Quote Manager with one of the editions of Autotask. So we want to incentivize them to really take advantage of the platform and then take that advantage down to their customers.
I want to turn the topic to one of my favorite topics. And so there's never going to be a show where this topic doesn't come up, which is artificial intelligence, which is something that I'm fascinated by and have been working on from a legal perspective for many years. But we're now at that stage where I feel like every software vendor platform is wrestling with the idea of how do we leverage AI and how do we build them into our products in a way that advance the usability, capabilities, efficiency, scalability of our solutions. And I know at Kaseya, you've had a number of initiatives with AI, and I recently saw how Copilot is being used in connection with your AutoTask PSA, and it's actually amazing to watch. But talk to us about the strategy at Kaseya, and particularly in the PSA area around AI.
Yeah, that's a great question. AI is the new buzzword. We've been seeing it for a few years now. And our philosophy is we want to do meaningful AI.
Yeah.
You see a lot of vendors just ingest something to a large language model and say, hey, we have AI. But when you start using it, it doesn't provide that value. So our philosophy is meaningful AI that our customers can leverage and get value out of it. So we look at AI in three components. We have something called Cooper Insights, which is all our products write insights into our Kaseya One platform. It enables our customers to leverage our products to its fullest. Because we integrate so much between our products, and on average, MSPs might be using 17, 18 products. Almost all of them are in our stack. We want to make sure that we build meaningful integrations between them. Now that we've done that, we automate that through something called Cooper Bots, which is our robotic process automation. It will go in and automate all the integrations between the products. The third component, which we launched yesterday, is called Cooper Copilot. That's the AI engine in the background. So we launched it for Autotask, and we do this in three ways. We say we amplify you, which is a technician, make them solve tickets quicker. We amplify your team, which is a business or triaging tickets with AI, getting it assigned to the right person at the right time, and then amplifying your business, which is where KQM, I think, will play a major role, which is we want to have that proactive service management where we go in and tell customers, here's the white space that you have with your service catalog. Here are the areas you haven't taken advantage of. Here are the services you haven't sold. Here's the services for some reason your profitability is so low. So that's where AI can come in and really surface up opportunities. And that will tie into Kaseya Quote Manager, because when you procure hardware, there's warranties, there's renewals that come up. With the AI that we're building into Kaseya Quote Manager, we'll have automatic generation of quotes based on tickets that come in.
That's really cool. Tell me about, I saw, and if you guys haven't seen this, you have to check it out, the Cooper Copilot and the AutoTask PSA, and how it streamlines management of tickets, summarizes tickets. It's really incredible. You have to take a look at it. What is the time frame for the integration of the Cooper AI Copilot into KQM? Is that this quarter? Is that next quarter? What's the roadmap look like?
So my product managers always get nervous when I start putting dates up.
Yeah.
But we've been working on it for about 4 months now. We envision that being a Q1 launch. Most likely, we will announce it at Connect Global, which is the other large conference we have in April. But our customers, we already have started reaching out to customers for early alpha and beta programs.
Cool.
And we still need to work out, a thing with AI is there's a lot of data privacy, compliance that we want to be. So we just don't want to plug something in and say, here's that. We take all of these things very, very seriously. So a large part of rolling out is not the development, but it's all the compliance and process around it that we vet. I mean, I'm sure from a legal point, AI is such a messy topic. It could get messy.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we are making sure our customers are protected through that process. So I envision something coming out in the Q1 timeframe, but we'll have early betas that select customers will give us feedback on.
Beyond the AI, which I know is super important for the reasons you mentioned, can you talk to us about the roadmap for your product suite as we get into the rest of 2025? What else beyond the Cooper Copilot and the AI? What else is coming down the road for people to be on the lookout for in terms of your roadmap?
Yeah, so we've done some pretty exciting things this year. Since about in 12 months, we've almost doubled the team. So we're putting a lot of investments into Kaseya Quote Manager. About 3-4 years back, we didn't really have a dedicated product manager. So we hired Shikhar, who's very senior in product management, to really come in and lead that product and sort of evolve that into the future. So we integrate very well with Autotask. We're going to extend that integration to BMS. We're going to extend it to payment processing with Connect Booster. There's just a ton of integrations that we've planned with Kaseya Quote Manager. From an innovation, I've covered on the AI components that are coming in. We also want to invest more in our storefront. And a topic that always comes up is, I know you started off the podcast by saying KQM is so visually stunning, but we know we can continue to do more. So making more, giving our customers more capabilities from an editing perspective, creating better templates. So our philosophy is we want to have customer-informed roadmaps, not necessarily customer-driven, because if that's the case, our 15, 16,000-ish customers will tell us 15, 16,000 different things to focus on.
Yeah.
In fact, we have our customer advisory board right after this as well. So I'm sure we can have a follow-up where we go through some of the roadmap items, but for now, a lot of innovation around editing, creating better templates, storefront, and then obviously the big one is the meaningful AI that we're going to build into it.
Kaseya Quote Manager, a great product. I always talk to my clients about the importance of collapsing the sales and contracting processes into one online step. And there's not a product that I've encountered in the marketplace that enables MSPs to do that better with the Manager platform than KQM. And Kevin, thank you so much for joining. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having us, and hopefully we'll connect again at Connect Global in April.
Look forward to it. Consider it done. Matt Solomon, welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm excited to be here.
That's awesome. We're here at DattoCon in Miami, and it's been a fun couple of days so far. Tell me, how's the show going for you guys?
Well, I mean, I always love coming to different events like this. The energy is always really high. Miami, I think, brings us a special flavor to it as well.
But Matt, I know that given your role at the channel program, you have an opportunity to really have a bird's eye view of what's going on in our industry and in the channel. And I'm really curious to know, here we are now coming toward the end of 2024. As we look back and we have time to reflect on 2024, what do you think we'll remember 2024 as being? What will be the themes that persist? How will we remember this year as we move forward into the future?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big question. I mean, I think AI, I mean, that's everywhere, right? And I know we'll probably talk about AI a bit more, but I think that was a major theme in 2024, looking back. I don't think even vendors and MSPs fully know how to properly utilize that in their business yet. But you see the ones that are going to be the early adopters, the MSPs who really, I think, take advantage of that. And on the vendor side, same thing. There's that early adopter opportunity to kind of be the leader in that space. Security is always an underlining theme around the MSP space, so that hasn't changed. But I think compliance has been continues to be grown and talked about in the stack. And interestingly enough, if I look at what MSPs are continuing to add to their stack, things like EDR has been one of the hottest things. Email security. I mean, we all deal with it, but every day it just getting bombarded by threats. And so you're seeing on MSP stacks, and we've got about 36,000 products that have been added by over 2,000 MSPs in their stacks. We're seeing the rise of, everyone's using email security, and it's moving up the list really quickly.
That's interesting. And I have said on this show and to others that I believe that we're moving out of the cybersecurity era of managed services and into the AI era of managed services. Do you see some evidence of that in what your data shows?
I think, yeah, MSPs are, especially the early adopters, are looking for ways to automate various processes. I mean, I think one of the most common ones is like, how can AI take care or remediate a certain percentage of tickets that, you know, are frankly wasting time, like for it. And on the vendor side, it's addressing simple questions and simple things like that. And so, yeah, I think you're absolutely seeing that.
Yeah, so we have at Monitor, we have an AI tool that's based on OpenAI's platform. We call it Lobby. I've been training it since ChatGPT-4 came out, and you can ask Lobby anything about Monitor, and it will answer it better than any account executive, and sometimes even better than I can answer it, and I'm a founder. So I've seen the power of it, as you know, and everyone who listens to this show knows that I'm a huge proponent of AI. As we look into 2025, what trends do you think will emerge in 2025? We're coming up on a pivotal election here in the next week or so, and I think that's going to either create some stability or instability.
And a lot of MSPs were getting scooped up by the PE-backed MSPs, and that you've definitely seen a slowdown. It's certainly still there, but I think post-election, I think you'll probably see an increase in some of the M&A activity. We're also seeing, you know, is stack consolidation. You know, it's MSPs somewhat becoming overwhelmed by the amount of products that they engage with, and you're seeing vendors like that are, each vendor now doesn't just focus on one thing. They add 2 or 3 elements to it, and that's when an MSP is like, wait a second, I've got like overlap in 15 different areas.
Yeah.
And so I think stack consolidation and AI are going to be really big in 2024.
I agree with you on both of those, and I will say in my own experience, you know, when we demo the Monitor platform to customers, we make a joke when we show them our customer experience portal. It's like, and the joke is, we know that you were waiting to hear that there was going to be one more portal for you to log into. Because you think about, you know, you're a service provider, you got 30 portals to, it becomes very unmanageable and difficult to manage. And so I could see how stack consolidation would be an important part of that. And I know that a lot of what you do is work with the vendors and help the vendors get their messages out, help vendors, you know, get feedback from community. If you had advice for a vendor that was wanting to come into this space or was developing a tool and was thinking about launching into this space, what are the 1 or 2 things that you would suggest that they consider doing? And then on the flip side, what are the 1 or 2 things that you would say, make sure you don't do this?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is actually having conversations with MSPs before you even think about this.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, we've seen, I could go back and probably look at some of the evidence, 25-30% of vendors who come into the space exit within a year. And so they think they can come in from an enterprise because it seems so awesome to have a sales force of MSPs selling your product, but it's not that simple. It also costs a lot of money to participate. You see this, we're at events. Events are not cheap, and it's a very in-person driven industry. It's very relationship based, and that's a big thing that they don't fully understand when they're coming into this space. So I think having initial conversations, seeing if it's even a viable option for an MSP, because I think people mistake that. The other thing is just, it's like these simple lists of things that you have to have. You have to have multi-tenancy, usually, if you're going to be a product that's being resold. White label, like they don't always want to put their, you know, the vendor's name on it. And, you know, sales enablement is usually, again, depending on the product category, but those are pretty specific things.
Yeah, so when we launched the Monitor platform, the first thing that we prioritized is integrating with ConnectWise's CPQ tool, because we knew ConnectWise was the 800-pound gorilla. We knew if we showed a successful integration with their product, that everyone else would fall in line and want us to do the same thing for them. And now we integrate with all of the leading platforms and can integrate with really any tool that can accept a smart hyperlink, and that we built that approach because we knew that being integrated with the platform tools that MSPs are already using, in the case of Monitor, the quoting tools, was going to be key to our success. And then we use the events like this, not just to build relationships with new people. It's not a sales function exclusively. Clients are coming to us. They're asking us questions. They're saying, hey, I forgot to ask you this, or, oh, by the way, since I'm talking to you, I've got this other question.
Yeah.
And so it becomes a way for us to really maintain relationships as in addition to just starting new relationships.
Yeah.
And so that's really been effective for us. You mentioned also white labeling, multi-tenancy. Explain a little bit more about why multi-tenancy is so important for any solution that's going to be sold in the channel.
Yeah, I mean, so for an MSP, they may have 25 all the way up to 100 and even more clients. And so what they need is essentially a parent level super admin view of all of their customers utilizing a product. So, I mean, it's really that, it kind of is that simple in the sense of they have to have that perspective. They have to be able to click into an individual partner or customer and see that information and have that reporting capability set in stone for them. It's more of a challenge for a vendor who sells to both enterprise and MSPs. So a lot of vendors who just sell to MSPs will say we're 100% channel. When we were running ID Agent, that was a stamp of approval we put because we wanted to make that clear. It doesn't mean you can't do both. You absolutely can. It is an advantage if you are selling 100% channel. And then just from like tips of what not to do in it, and then just forcing an actual technology down to the small business, it doesn't always work that way. It's not always as simple as it sounds. So, making sure that you're taking into consideration, and that's where it goes back to having conversations with real MSPs, and even around the pricing models.
I do the same thing. I say people, when I talk to customers and I tell them a price, I ask them, does that seem comfortable for you, right? Because their comfort level is going to be an important part to their ability not only to get started with you, but stay with you, right? Yeah. And so that's why it's so important. You mentioned M&A, and our most recent product is the Manager Deal Room, and it's designed to assist with M&A in our client base. What's driven this craze, for lack of a better way to describe it? You just have this kind of frenzy right now of people interested in selling, multiples that seem historically high, but also this huge amount of interest in merging. I've got clients in peer groups and they want to roll the whole peer group up into. In your opinion, what's driving this interest in M&A in our community?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a couple of factors. One, and I think COVID really kind of put an emphasis on how important MSPs are to any company running their business. It's hard to imagine a small business running a company without an MSP. And then obviously the private equity companies started seeing the success with MSPs, and they were like, okay, let's go invest in this space. So that their interest, obviously driven by the success of the overall industry, has driven tons of interest. But I think it's also coupled with the fact that you've got a group of MSPs aging out into retirement age. And so there's this huge swath of MSPs that are ready to sell. I think the challenge most recently has been, and as you mentioned, we've done some M&A events, is locating the ones who are really actually interested in selling now. Because there's some that are dipping their toes in the water. Also, finding the PE-backed ones generally want much bigger MSPs. They want a $10 million MSP. That's not the majority. The majority of the MSP space is $1.5 million and less in revenue. So you're seeing these larger PE companies that have already really gone around in the last 2.5 years and scooped up all of those. But a lot of the value is just that it goes back to some of it's stack consolidation. So getting all of these MSPs in various regions using the same technologies, it gives you better buying power with the vendors, and then all the back end operations are now handled in one place. So there's a method to there's madness to the methodology around it.
It makes sense to me. What I've heard is that some of the firms that have been acquired by PE-backed firms struggle to retain clients and to deliver that personalized service that would be associated with a boutique. Have you seen any of that? And do you think that that's a temporary thing, or is that going to be an issue that persists as we go further?
I do think it's an issue for sure. A lot of it depends on each one of these, and it's really interesting because each one of these PE-backed MSPs does things differently. So some want you out immediately. They don't want you as the owner. But then there's others that actually want to retain you and have you because of that same issue. And maybe it's over the course of 3 years, and that might be the middle ground of like, hey, we do want you out at some point, but it's 3 years down the line. And another just cool kind of thing I've seen is that at that corporate level, they're actually having some of those MSPs transition to kind of becoming the COO of the overall brand. So they're still keeping them in the family, but just moving them from the MSP ownership to kind of the PE.
A bigger role within the organization.
Yeah.
And I think that there's nothing really unique in any of that's unique to this industry. That these would be issues that would impact any industry in terms of M&A. If somebody's thinking about selling in the next year, 2 years, I know you're doing workshops and other things, and the people who are showing up sometimes are not ready to sell right now.
Yeah.
What are the one or two things that you would say to an MSP that is thinking about maybe selling in a year or 2 years down the line? What can they be doing now to put themselves in a better position as they get prepared for that?
Well, so I think there are a lot of conferences out there that are actually doing like specific M&A tracks, so that's important. There's a lot of like brokers out there now, like agents essentially. I would encourage having conversations with those. I would encourage having conversations with the PE-backed companies, even if you're not. Maybe that's not the route you really want to go. Maybe you actually want to go with you want to sell to a smaller MSP that's in your area or whatever. But having them ask you questions really makes you sometimes realize, oh my God, I have to get way more ducks in a row from a due diligence standpoint. I mean, the due diligence is not fun for anybody. And part of that is managing your contract, your subscriptions, putting them all in one place. So a lot of times just having those conversations is like, oh my God, okay, I'm definitely about a year away from even having any of this stuff ready.
Right.
But also I think like if you're talking with like an agent, they're going to tell you how because they want the best price, right? So they're going to tell you over the course of the next 1 to 3 years how you go from a 4X to a 6X.
Yeah, and I'm also seeing now that some of those brokers are actually putting models together where they only take an interest or a percentage of the incremental value that's added from the time the MSP starts working with them to the time of the exit. And I think that's really interesting. In the deal room right now, we're seeing, and it's just starting, and I don't know if this trend will hold, but I think it might, more people interested in our acquire solution, which is the buy side, than our exit solution, which is the sell side, and it's about 2 to 1. So for every person raising their hand saying, I'm interested in selling, we're seeing 2 people raising their hand saying, I'm interested in buying. And so there's a bit of an imbalance there, and I think that's what's driving the multiples up and why prices are at all relatively all-time highs. So what do you see in terms of this trend, in terms of buyers and sellers? Do you think as more and more MSPs age out that you'll start to see more and more sellers come onto the market, or do you think that more sellers that come on, you just keep adding more and more buyer interest as it goes? Yeah, there's no doubt, and so that for what that you're hearing from Matt, and it's consistent with what I'm saying. If you're thinking about selling your business in the future, now's the time to get started with thinking about that. That's awesome. Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining the show. I appreciate you, and
love it.
Look forward to talking with you again.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to Talk Tech with Rob Scott. Brought to you by Monger.
Monger is the first mover in providing contracts as a service solutions specifically designed for IT managed service providers. Their SaaS-enabled legal solution is based on industry-leading templates, customized for each client, and periodically updated to ensure that MSPs always have the latest protections and are legally compliant. For more information, visit monger.com. That's MONJUR.com.